everybody. I'm Kathy Knippel. I am the silkscreen teacher for the course at Syracuse University. And silkscreen can also be called serigraphy or screen printing. It's a course that will cover both printing on paper, making prints, serigraphs, or also textile printing, making fabrics, and other applications, because it's a very flexible medium, and you can do a lot of different things with it. It can be used industrially, graphic design, textile arts, printmaking. It's very, very flexible, and I want you to be aware of that, and I want you to get that feeling that this medium is really, really useful, and you'll be happy that you learned it. First, I want to tell you a little history about myself. Was born in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Lived there till I was about 9 or 10, I think. And then we moved up to northern Wisconsin, and we lived on the American Indian Reservation for 10 years, and I went to the reservation school, which was, well, I didn't know it at the time, but it was also very helpful in my background and my interest in arts, because we studied a lot of the Indian crafts and history, and it started me to get very interested in weaving, beadwork, leatherwork. And my father was also a photographer, and I was interested in photography. So I didn't know I was going to be putting all these elements together, but the silkscreen class puts it all together, because I can still do photography, I can do my textile works, I love to draw, so all of these things fit beautifully together into this class. When I went to, after I lived in northern Wisconsin, we moved to California and to Los Angeles, and I started going to school at Cal State Los Angeles. And my bachelor's degree was in art in general, so I took a lot of different art courses and also art education courses. And so I got my bachelor's degree in general art, so I did everything. Then for my master's degree, I decided I had to specialize, and I love fabrics, so I specialized in textiles and fashion together. And I took every kind of textile course, from silkscreen printing, batik dyeing, natural dyes, weaving, every kind of textile, and sewing, pattern making, tailoring. So I got all of these skills all put together. And then I had to find a way to use them all together. And one of the most interesting classes that I could put them all together in was silkscreen. So I think we're going to try to explore a lot of different things that you can do, not just prints and not just textiles, but a little bit of everything. And even possibilities maybe for sculpture. Even in ceramics, some students get to print ceramic tiles with silkscreens. So there's a lot of things. One of the students was on a work study, and they got to work in a leather shop here in Florence making bags. Well, the leather shop gave him some leather, and he printed his leather, made his bag, did the linings, also printed in the spare time, because he also had to work and do their things. And another student had some kind of a workshop in a shoe place, and she printed leather as well, and was able to make a pair of shoes with her own print on it. So there's a lot of neat things you can do with this class. In California, when I was studying all my textile things, and I started to get really interested in making soft sculpture, which that's what they called it at the time, soft textile sculpture. And there was all the pop art things were going on, and there was Klaus Ollenberg making big hamburgers and things like that. So I decided, because I was going to school, commuting to school on the freeway, and saw for an hour to school and an hour back, I saw cars. But the main car I saw was little VW Volkswagens. And so I decided I was going to make small cars first. And I made a little car. Oh, and everybody just loved that little car. So crazy me, I thought, I'm going to make a full-size car. I don't know how I thought that. It was really hard. But I was in sculpture as well, thank goodness. And I was in welding. Although I didn't weld the whole frame for the car, I needed help. But I welded an entire frame to make my car with. And then I made the whole outer covering and the whole inside of the car in fabric, and lots of sewing and construction work. So this was my car. When I made it, that was for my master show, actually. That's me inside of it, very young girl at that time. So I made the inside, the outside, and I had it in a show at my master show. And the newspaper people were there, and the Los Angeles TV station filmed it and got me on TV. And then it got in the magazine and a bunch of newspapers. And Volkswagen finally ended up knowing about it. And they wrote me and said, do you still have this car? Would you sell it to us? And of course I would sell it to them because one thing, it was taking up all the space in my parents' garage and they had nowhere to put their car. So they sent this man out from the Englewood, New Jersey to see me, and he saw my car and said, yes, we want it. We're making a Volkswagen museum, and we're going to put this in the museum along with other Volkswagen art that we're collecting. But he said, your piece will probably be the main piece. So he bought that and a number of small cars because he saw I made small cars. And he said, instead of just, Jaguars, I want only Volkswagen cars, all the different models we have. So I had to make all the different models they had in the small version. I'll show you one of them. I kept one. Actually, this one was our car, the Volkswagen station wagon. So I made, first, this is how I got inspired, by making the little guys first. But then I did make the big one. But when he saw I had all these little ones, I had to make the Volkswagen people a whole set of little Volkswagen cars as well. So that got me into more sculptural kind of things. Plus my boyfriend, my husband, he was a sculpture major at Cal State. And I got him thinking more three-dimensional, partly because of him, I guess, as well. So then to Italy, how I got to Italy. My boyfriend at the time, who became my husband, Mr. Fuji, he came here on a Cal State program, and he thought Florence was amazing, fantastic. You have to come and join me here. It took a little courage to do that, but I did, and I came here, and I fell in love with Florence as well, and you're going to fall in love with it too. And I started doing things about Florence. I did a show at the Strozzi. I copied a whole wine shop and all the objects, the wine bottles, the food, the sandwiches, everything. I did the whole wine shop, and I put it up in the Palazzo Strozzi. This one here is another, and then I started doing, those things took up a lot of space. So then I started doing things that maybe didn't take up quite as much space, little quilts about Florence or people's houses. I did a lot of people's houses. And this one happens to be about our studio here in Florence. And when you come here, the way you find your way around on Via Guelph, when you see this great big green door that's set back from the street, that's the entrance to where the studio is. And I'll probably meet you to bring you here the first time, but if you're lost, you have to come later. You always look for this great big green door on the street. It's really large, and it's set back from the street a little bit, and we're inside of there. And here's the map of this part of Florence showing where the studio is, and that's my feet coming in. And this was all done with photo silkscreen, but I did my photo silkscreen on fabric and quilted it. So this is still photo silkscreen. This one is another one I did actually a couple years before because I moved down the street a little further. This was a previous studio. When you walk down Guelph, you'll see that too. It's because it's kind of funny with a door under a window. But that's also photo silk. This one I drew on top of the photo, so it's part photo, part drawing. And this is the map of Florence, the same map. And this happens to be the curtain that used to be in that window. I just took the real curtain, laid it on the screen in the darkroom, and exposed it. So sometimes you can find an object like lace, or like this is such sort of a lace, or feathers perhaps. Those things will photocopy right on the screen directly if you just lay them on the screen and photograph them, because they're really flat. Anything too bumpy you can't do, but anything that's pretty flat like lace, feathers, you can do. Another thing I like to do a lot, and Syracuse has a theater department, a theater teacher. I made this costume. I'm a costume maker. And this is all serigraphy, all screen printing, textile screen printing. And I worked a lot on this one. I took for inspiration, the capitals of the columns, the top, the plant forms that are in the capitals, and I took inspiration from that. But I also loved all the door knockers with the crazy gargoyles and monsters and masks. So on the bottoms of each of these petals is a little gargoyle. And then it's supposed to be sort of a big bird. I wore this for Venice Carnival, which you're going to be here during Carnival. If everything goes all right and COVID isn't too bad, maybe we can do some carnival things. So there's Venice Carnival. Via Reggio already announced they're doing the parade regardless for Carnival. So there's a lot of neat things for Carnival here that you can do, and maybe we can get inspiration from that for a lot of projects